Okay, guys and gals, this is Doug Wilson from Yellow Hawk Customs Outdoors. Can you guess what this video is going to be about? What it's going to concern? You're right. The Delta Whiskey Infinity, right? We're going to take a look at this knife from the name to the butt in this video. And I'm going to explain to you or describe to you some of the features, what I was thinking, why it's named the way it is, etc., etc. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're going to see a good one.
Yellow Hawk Customs Outdoors. Combat and wilderness grade custom KYDEX sheath systems. The badass sheath system for the badass outdoorsman. Yellow Hawk.
Okay, so the Delta Whiskey Infinity. Designed by Doug Wilson, right? And built by LT Wright Custom Knives. They're in Ohio. Fairly popular custom knife company. And I tell you, not everybody gets to work with them. So I'm kind of honored that they even accepted to do this for me. And LT Wright even suggested we do a second run. He likes the knife. So at least that's what he told me. He probably tells everybody that. But he was really, really excited about the knife because in no uncertain terms, he told me this is the most difficult knife they have produced to date. Okay? Hence the price. Okay? It's a little more expensive than, say, the Will Myers Mantis Sotheby's knife, that bushcrafting knife. A little more expensive than that. Not a whole lot. Okay? But it's unique. This is a low number run utilitarian EDC wilderness blade. Okay, and I originally intended it, right, including the Delta Whiskey Backcountry, which cannot be excluded from this video. Hold on, I'll go get it. Alright, so here it is. This is the Delta Whiskey Backcountry. This is what I consider to be a full-on wilderness blade. Like, I don't know, some people say one tool option. If this was the only knife you could carry or had in a survival episode, or your volunteer for a hardcore survival exercise or whatever, this would be the knife I would take. Okay, is it better than some other one tool option knives? I think so. Honestly, I think so. But are there not other great one tool option knives out there? Absolutely, right? It's just, I've been through the gambit of knives for the last 40 years, and I ended up designing my own because I wanted a knife to do exactly what I want it to do, and that's everything, right? So we're getting ready to get into the Delta Whiskey Infinity. Okay, this is the backcountry. Mike Wallace at Wallace Edged Tools builds this, right? And it's CPM 3V. That's the steel, okay, which is an over-the-top super steel that's not going to run you, a lot of money. It's more expensive than most forgeable steels because it's a better steel, but it's not going to break the bank, right? CPM 3V is relatively inexpensive as far as super steels go, and it's You know, wear resistance way up there, toughness way up there. You know, just a great steel. So it happens to be my favorite for most of my knives. But it depends on the knife. It really depends on the knife as to whether I want it CPM 3V or not, right? So here it is, Delta Whiskey Backcountry. Okay, very comfortable. I mean, there are a number of reviews on YouTube where reviewers have asked me if they can do a review on this knife, right? I don't send the knife out to just anybody, right? I don't give knives away to reviewers so they can review them. I just don't do that, okay? Not that I don't think it's fair, it's just I don't do it. I like a knife to stand on its own merit. And here's how I look at it, right? I designed this knife. I know it works well in the field. For me, this does everything I want it to do, and that's just about everything, including skinning and food prep. Okay, you see the belly on the blade, right? And I've been into bellies on blades forever. Bob, the Grizz, he is too. I mean, we used to talk about it all the time. When we design a knife, we're going to do this, but it's definitely going to have a belly. You know what I mean? Because we're belly guys, right? I mean, I even got a belly. Anyway, they're efficient slicers, cutters, choppers, especially small tasks. This geometry is very effective, right? Pinpoint accuracy if you're doing close-up, you know, notching or shaving or whatever. It's got like 10 different hand positions, you know, 10 different. You can even do it this way to get more leverage. So there it is. So I know what this knife can do. I'm really not concerned if anybody else knows what this knife can do. It's really not my concern. I would hope that they do, right? I would hope that they give Mike Wallace business, and they do, right? This knife sells very well for a $400 CPM 3V beast, okay? And it's really not that big, not that heavy. It's just over a pound. There's a lot of one-tool options out there that weigh a lot more than a pound. Pound and a half, 2 pounds, that kind of thing, right? But since it's CPM 3V, CPM 3V is generally lighter than forgeable steels, but stronger, okay? I don't know how much, right? It depends on how big the knife is that you're comparing it to another knife, right? So, there it is, Delta Whiskey Backcountry. Okay, and I originally designed it for myself, right? So, I wasn't really concerned with having them made, you know, until guys started saying, you know, I want one. Doug, I want one. How can I get one, right? That kind of thing. So Mike Wallace at Wallace Edge Tools, he builds them, right? He builds them. You deal with him for the knife. After the knife is finished, he sends it to me. Now, his wait is like 3 months, okay, which is not altogether that bad for a custom knife maker, especially one that goes to the extent that Mike goes to make these things like perfect, right? I mean, he's really good. He's an extraordinary knife builder. That's the class that I put him in. Extraordinary, right? So, there's that. We're talking about the Delta Whiskey Infinity. Kind of, but not, right? Kind of the little brother to this guy, okay? It's a little bit shorter. The belly is not as pronounced, and the belly does have a different geometry than this, right? You can see it, different geometry altogether, okay? This one's a little steeper, the smaller one, and more gradual with the backcountry, right? And the handles are different, okay? Both are very comfortable, right? Very comfortable. Because when I design a knife, that's one of my primary concerns, and I'm pretty serious about designing knives. I want them to work, and I want them to work well, better than most other knives I've tried. And I've tried a plethora of knives over the last 40 years. You know, it's my business. I've been in this industry for a very long time. Let's just put it that way. And every single day I work with knives. Every single day. Right? I work with them, and I also work with them. Right? So anyway. Delta Whiskey Infinity. Here's our stamp. Right? See the stamp of our logo. We had to simplify it a little bit, but it conveys the meaning. YHCO. Right? Could mean anything, right? Your hollow cockle, I don't know. You know what I mean? YHCO. Yellow Hawk Customs Outdoors. That is pretty. You can see the beret on top, right? Who knows where that comes from. But let's start with the name. Delta Whiskey Infinity. Alright, Delta Whiskey is just a nomenclature for Doug Wilson. Delta Whiskey. Sounds cool, right? Military nomenclature. Delta Whiskey. Good look at it. Because I tell you, some people don't get a good look at this, right? So I want you to have a good look at it. People are buying it. People are buying this knife. The first run, it's pretty much sold out. I kept a few just in case somebody comes along, and they're coming along, so they're going to be out pretty soon. I guarantee it. So hop on it if you want one. If you don't want one, so be it. I'm okay with that. I know it works. Okay? And I know it works well. So my interest in it is satiated, is satisfied. Okay? My interest in it. If you're interested in it, call me, text me. I'll tell you a little bit about it. Watch this video. You know, just be comfortable with the fact that the first run sold out, right? So, there it is. Okay, Infinity. Let's go with the name. Okay, it's pretty self-explanatory. It can do anything you want it to do. Anything you want it to do, right? Within its design parameters, okay? Within its intended purposes. This is intended, okay? However you use it is up to you. But I designed it, my intention was for it to be an EDC field wilderness blade, right? So EDC, you carry it every day on your hip, wherever, dangler, on your hip, baldric, doesn't matter. However you want to carry it, every day in the field, right? And it's tough enough for wilderness conditions. Meaning, if you're in the thick of it, this knife will pull you through. Okay? Basically is what that means. That's what I classify a wilderness blade to be. And I'll give you an example is my original LMF1 a wilderness blade? I don't consider it a wilderness blade. This is an EDC camping. You could take it into a wilderness situation, but it could be a little lacking, right, in certain tasks that you need it to do. Hence, the Delta Whiskey Infinity. Anything you need it to do, it will do within its design parameters. You always have to clarify things on YouTube, right? And when I speak, I try to choose my words carefully. Sometimes I just blurt shit out like, you know, like there's a lot of shitty knife sharpeners out there. Because there is, right? It's a plain fact. So, anyway, I try to choose my words carefully depending on the politicalness of the, or the socialness of the milieu, of the total situation, right? Anyway, what was I saying? Okay, wilderness blade, EDC, right? It can chop. Is it built for heavy chopping? No. This one is. That's a heavy chopper, right? And it chops better than most because of that belly, and because the width of the blade, the heaviness of the blade. But it all depends on how good you are at chopping with a knife like this, right? It's not coming out of your hand. It's really comfortable. I chop with it all the time, right? So I know it chops well, okay? Have I ever raced between this and a hatchet or this and an axe? No. The axe will win, right? I already know who's going to win out of that contest. So it does light chopping. You can lightly chop with this. Can you... I'm looking for a knife. Here's an Austin Kennedy. Okay, this is a very nice knife. I really like it. Holds a great edge. This is an Austin Kennedy. He's a young knife maker who built me a knife to review and tell him how I feel about it. I think this is a wonderful knife for the knife maker that he is. I think he does a great job. Okay. Needs a little work on the handles, right? But if you look at his work now, this was a year ago, right? He's progressing, right? He's progressing. So, is this designed for chopping? No. Hey, you're not going to chop with this blade. It's not going to do anything. You'll be here all day chopping through a stick, This is a slicer, cutter, notcher, whatever, right? So, let me put this one back. Put a Hawk light on this one, a green one, so you can follow blood trails. Green lets you see blood trails. Anyway, there's your tip of the day. Okay, so this one's designed to do some light chopping. Okay, is that its primary purpose? No, its primary purpose is just like every other knife: cutting and slicing. Cutting and slicing. Shaving, that kind of stuff, okay? Now let's go through the features of it, okay? And I'm going to start with the handle. I'll leave the blade for last, okay? That's the best part, the blade, right? Actually, the sheath is the best part, but I'd have a hard time proving that to some guys, right? All right, so let's look at the handle. I'm going to give you like a 360 of it, okay? Let me get it real close. I hope it's not out of focus. It should not be out of focus, right? We go real slow, like it's on a spit, and we're roasting it over a fire. I want to go backpacking this weekend. It's Friday. I want to get out. I know I went last weekend. I want to go again. So we'll see if it happens. I am akin to just picking up and going. I can do that, right? I've engineered my life to be very simple. Very simple. When I was in the Army, when I was in SF, it was pretty complex. It's not anymore. I like being a simple, everyday, common Joe. And I can do whatever I want, when I want. Within reason. I still have clients to satisfy. And that's my #1 priority, so don't think it's not. It is. Okay, you can see the palm swell, right? Side to side and up and down, okay? Palm swell. So it fills up your palm. It fills up your palm. And basically the point of that is the more gaps you have between the knife handle and your hand detracts from the leverage that you're getting from it, okay? That's #1. So surface area of your hand should contact every portion of that knife. Every portion of your hand should contact the handle, okay? And this does, pretty much, okay? It's one of the most comfortable knives I've ever held, okay? That's #1 for me. It's got to be a comfortable knife, because I use a knife for 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes at a time, right? It's got to be comfortable. And you're pushing on it, right? You're pushing on that handle. Trust me, it gets tiring if that handle's going to hurt you in any way. And a lot of knives do. The makers, the designers just don't consider it, being a very comfortable knife in the hand. They're they're more interested. They're interested in style and, you know, is it cool? Is it badass? You know, who cares if it's comfortable, right? No, that's not my way. It's got to be comfortable. It's a knife, right? You're going to have to depend on this for your life, maybe in some cases, right? Or in some case, eventually, whatever, right? Very comfortable. Okay, it's got thumb scallops, right? Thumb scallops for, you know, making bowls and spoons, right? You can choke up on it, and you put that thumb scallop right in the crook of your thumb right there, and it keeps your thumb from being pushed up in the air. You get full contact of that thumb on the blade. As much contact as you're going to get. That's why the thumb scallops are there. There's other reasons, and as you work with the knife, you'll figure out other nuances about these thumb scallops, okay? They are beneficial in some tasks, okay? And the number one is it gets my thumb on that blade for leverage, okay? Because in most cases, that's what you're looking for with a knife. You need maximum leverage for maximum cutting and slicing and chopping, right? Just, that's the way it is. It's physics, okay? And I'm all about physics when I design a blade, okay? So there's the thumb scallops, right? There's the pommel, okay? The pommel is sharp, 90-degree pommel, okay? I tell you, I try to keep these clips at about 10 minutes because they download quicker or upload quicker, whatever. Anyway, the pommel, it's 90-degree in case you got to shave something with it or whatever, okay? Cracked nuts, pulverized tinder, all kinds of stuff with a pommel, okay? Now, why is the pommel short like this? Why is it sloped on both of these edges? Here's the reason. Because there are other knives on the market that I've had in my hand. This is experience talking, right? I'm thinking about what other knives do. You know, quite a few other knives with pommels. They stick out square, right, the pommel, or it's round, but it's the full length of the handle, you know, width here. And what happens is when you're chopping, right, even light chopping, after the 10th chop, that corner is going to start digging in to the heel of your hand. Trust me, that's why I designed it this way. Trust me. Okay? A lot of thought goes into the design of these blades, right? So, very comfortable, right? It's not going to get in the way, but it's very usable. Basically, that's the end product of that, okay? That's the point of it. I want it usable, you know, work and work well, but not hurt your hand if you're doing other things with it, okay? The pinky choil, right here. And there's a little bit of a heel choil here, too. The heel of your palm, a little bit of a heel choil. That gives you positive purchase when you're chopping, okay? Other tasks as well, but chopping primarily keeps that knife from flying out of your hand and keeps it a comfortable chop. And you chop with your wrist with a knife. You don't chop with your arm, right? Chop with your wrist primarily, okay? So there's that. See that contour right there? Positive purchase, right? On the knife. There's the front choil, right? This is, some people call it a hand guard or a finger guard, okay? That's self-explanatory. That keeps the knife in your hand also, all right? And they're nice and deep, right? Because if they're not, and here's experience again, right? I'm thinking back, if these aren't deep, you could lose that knife. It slips out of your hand if it's wet or whatever. You know what I'm talking about, right? So very comfortable, very effective purchase on the handle, okay? The micarta, the material, okay? Super tough. Doesn't get much tougher than micarta, all right? G10 also, but micarta we chose for this. And it's bead blasted. It's roughed. It's roughed up, okay? So when you get it, it's going to have a burlappy texture to it, okay? Which, you know, if your hands are wet, it gives you better purchase on the handle, okay? So, you know, and trust me, LT Wright had input into how we're doing things with this knife, right? He had input, not a whole lot, but I tell you, he knows how to build a knife too, right? He knows what makes a knife comfortable, what keeps it in your hand. He knows. It's evidenced by the shitload of blades that he sells. Okay, all right, just, you know, as frank as I can be, right? All right. So you go here to this shaved out portion here, okay? When your handle is when your hand's in this position right here, okay, just that much more positive purchase you're getting and comfort because it follows the contours of your palm, okay? If you take some clay, right, or some Play-Doh or something, you put it in your hand, you squeeze it, okay, and then you open it up, and what you have left, right, is something like that. Okay, that's what you have, something like that, something soft and moldable. Okay, it could be molten hot KYDEX, right? You squeeze it. Anyway, you come up with something like that. You know, your palm forms something like that. Now it's going to be rough looking. If you try to do it, you got to cut away the rough edges, right? But there it is, okay? And it's very comfortable. It fills up the palm, right? Okay, so let's go now. What was the next thing? Oh, the bow drill divot, okay? The bow drill divot. As you can see, the placement of it serves two purposes. The placement of the divot, okay? Overall, it's the best place that I know of for a divot for several different hand holds. Everybody does bow drills differently. Everybody holds a knife differently. Everybody holds their bearing block a little differently. So this is a personal thing with me. So when I got that bearing block, right, and I got my hand around that knife, right, I can go right there with it, and the bearing block is like this, okay, and I'm pushing down on it, okay. Now, here's what I like to do. Excuse me. It's above the neck of the sheath that I build for it. It's above it, right? So you can use it with the sheath on, okay, basically. I am akin to using it without the sheath. I get better purchase on the knife if I use it this way, all right? If I use it like this, or you put your finger in the choil here. There's several ways you can do this. And you always want the blade away from you, but it's not mandatory. If you're confident in your abilities, you're probably not going to slip. This is a brain thing. This is a confidence, self-confidence thing, right? And I'm pretty self-confident. So, some people mistake that for arrogance. Self-confidence for arrogance. There's a fine line. It really is. Bob tells me all the time, you know what? You ride that line really well. So, anyway, here's my primary handhold for a bow drill. And the point of the spindle is right there. Okay? Get maximum pressure, right? Your ulna comes down to your wrist, comes down to the palm of your hand, and you got maximum pressure on that spindle. You can let up on the pressure or put more pressure on it, and you're not going to be afraid that this spindle is going to fly out of your hand because you got that choil there, your finger wrapped around it, right? It's not going anywhere, okay? So, bow drill divot. Now, some guys, right, some knife designers say that you shouldn't have a bow drill divot on the handle of a knife. I disagree. I disagree. Sorry. So, let me put this one back. All right. This belongs to a client. This is the very first Delta Whiskey Infinity sheath to go out. Not even finished yet. Right? Oh, love that click. Okay? So, this is a black handled one. That was a green handled one. All right? The green handle with coyote liners. Green handle, coyote liners. And I have some black with OD liners. So it's more gray than black, but when you get it wet, it's black. Okay? There it is. This is the black one. What were we talking about? Okay, bow drill divot. All right, that's done. What else we got here? All right, let's move forward to the finger choil. Okay, now, there's a lot of different names for this. I call it a choke up choil. Choke up. Pretty simple, right? Choke up choil. Okay? There's a couple of different ways you can use this choil on this knife. Okay? You can use it with your hand back here on the blade, which is pretty good leverage. Okay? Or you can choke up on it really far. Okay? And you're not worried about cutting your finger like you're worried about that with some knives, right? Some knives have a choke up choil, but the blade starts right there. We have a ricasso here that protects your fingers from the blade pretty much confidently. Okay? Okay? The sides of the choke up choil are rounded. Okay? You can't really see it here. Trust me, they are. Okay? It's pretty damn comfortable. And here's the thing. If it's not rounded enough for you, you can do it yourself. I have no problem. I did this one. I have no problem at all polishing something to be comfortable, right? Put a Dremel tool, shave some of that metal off the sides. You don't have to worry about changing the temper. It's not going to get that hot, okay? Especially with a Dremel tool. If it is getting super hot, you got to cool down a little bit, right? But just go slow. And I slicked out this whole area. This is the prototype. I slicked out the whole area so that it's not chewing up the KYDEX when you pop it in and out, right? There's no chewing up of any KYDEX with this knife. And yours will be the same way if you want it to be. Sometimes I touch it up a little. If it's, you know, they're handmade, they're hand ground, they're hand produced. So sometimes I will polish some edges to make it more KYDEX friendly. Okay, so there's the choke up choil, and you can choke way up on it. And what happens is this guy right here comes up to meet your palm, comes up to meet it in the middle of your palm, and it's nice and gradual, so that when it's not in the middle, basically, it's just past your thumb. But on the big choke up, on the heavy choke up, right, it sits right in there in that webbing of your hand and gives you even more leverage, right? Leverage. Because I want surface contact with everything. The more of your hand that touches this knife in this area, the more leverage you're going to get. You know, if you only have a little bit of leverage, right, and you know you're holding it back here or something, you're not going to get the push that you want, the leverage that you want. Okay, so when I choke up, I choke way up. All right, and I put that spine, and the spine is rounded too. And if you want it more rounded, you can do it yourself. It's not a big deal. Dremel tool, a little bit of sandpaper. Just don't scratch the area. Look, I'm going to show it to you real quick. Okay? When you're done dremeling just the very edge with a grinding stone or a sanding belt or whatever you want to use, doesn't matter. Dremel tools are pretty versatile. Okay? After you're getting it where you want it, then you got to polish it with 400 grit sandpaper. All right? It's not a big deal. I'm doing it. This is somebody's knife. Okay? I don't know who it's going to belong to, but this is someone's knife. Okay? And all I'm doing is making this area more comfortable. More comfortable. So just work on the edge, though. Make sure the sandpaper doesn't contact the blade or you'll scratch it. Okay? Trust me. All right? So I'm working the edge, you know. If it's not round enough for you, and trust me, it's round. This is super sharp, all right? From here all the way to the tip is super sharp, 90 degree. If you ran your finger, you cut yourself. That's how sharp it is. Striking a ferro rod, shaving bark, stuff like that, okay? Which you absolutely need in a blade like this. You need that, right? So I designed it into there, right? This part of the blade is for choking up on that choil real far. And if you want it a little bit more rounded, if it's kind of irritating you a little bit, you know, as more you hold the knife, round it a little bit more. I did it with this one, right? I rounded this one more. This one's very comfortable. Very comfortable. Like I could feather stick all day with this puppy, right? And you can do it too. It's not hard to do. Do not be afraid to touch your knives, guys. I know there's a lot of makers out there that will say to you, a lot of designers, man, you shouldn't touch the knife. Just leave it the way it is. And, right? If it's not comfortable, try to make it comfortable. Now, there's a fine line here. If you want to choke up choil here or here, I wouldn't go doing that. I would just enhance the features that it already has by making them smoother. That's what I'm saying, okay? And it's not difficult. Just stay on that edge. Don't go past the grind point here. You'll see the grind point on the spine of the knife. You'll see it, okay? It ends right there, okay? The rest of this is super sharp. You don't want to touch it. You don't have to. Just touch the part where your hand is, okay? And make it as rounded as you want, okay? I mean, if you want to completely round it, go ahead. Not going to hurt the knife at all. It's going to make it better, okay? You got to remember that when LT builds these things, he's building it for a variety of hands, a variety of experiences, a variety of likes and dislikes, right? So we're making it kind of generic. You do what you want with it, okay? I did it with the prototype, rounded that choke up choil until it's like super comfortable. I mean, they're like rounded. They're chamfered, all right? I did this one like Mike Wallace does his. Chamfers it so that it's a gradual edge, okay? And I rounded the spine here so it's very comfortable. You can do it too. It is not hard. If you have any questions on how to do stuff like that, just contact me. I am more than willing to help you with that. You want me to teach you how to make KYDEX sheath systems? I probably can't do that. But I'll help you modify or enhance the features of your knives if you want to do it. And you know what? If you're looking at me saying, man, you're freaking crazy, that's okay. Then I'm crazy. To you, I'm crazy. Right? To me, I enhance the already capable features of the knife. I enhance them. Right? So there it is. Scandi grind. Right? It's got a fairly wide blade. Like I said, it's got the ricasso here with a sharpening choil. It really didn't need that, the sharpening choil, but we wanted to be thorough. Like everything this knife could possibly have to make it better, we incorporated into it, right? The tip, reverse tanto, super strong. I don't advocate prying with a knife, but this might be one of the knives you'd get away with prying, okay? The edge, you know, the edge of the tip is not really thin like some knives are. Some makers, they make that knife tip really thin, and I tell you, I've broken a couple of tips off of some really good knife makers' knives. Just snapped them right off, okay? This one, you're not going to snap it off, okay? So, reverse tanto, real strong. This is a penetrating tip. If you have to plunge this into something, it penetrates well, and it's strong. It's not going to break, okay? A lot of knives will break. You put enough pressure on them laterally, they'll snap right off, okay? This one won't, okay? I mean, you really got to crank on it to break that tip. And I don't think I don't think anybody's strong enough to do it, but it's possible. Anything's possible, right? Okay? So you got the wide sweep here, right? A little more pronounced than the Delta Whiskey Backcountry for skinning, slicing, and chopping. Okay? Skinning, slicing, cutting, chopping. It runs the gambit of cutting jobs, cutting situations. Okay? So I'm real happy with this blade. I worked the hell out of this one. I've used this one in all kinds of situations, and it performs flawlessly, in my opinion. And you know what? I'm only saying that because I designed it. Anyway, I'm very jovial, right? I have a light sense of humor. I try not to take things too seriously, right? Because if you do, you just become boring, right? I already take this super serious. You all know that, right? I take this super serious. I take these super serious. But, at the end of the day, you don't always have to be serious about shit, right? You guys know me. The guys that watch the channel, you know me. There it is. Delta Whiskey Infinity. And, lanyard hole in the back. Fisheye pin and tube hardware. The toughest construction, right? Toughest construction techniques, right? Nice wide blade if you need to pry with it. If you need, right? I don't advocate it. You should never pry with a knife. But I'm telling you, I ran into situations, right, in the military where I would have to pry with a knife. It's the only thing you got. You got to get that fucking door open. Or whatever, okay? You stick that bitch in there and hope it don't break. All right? At a certain point, you stop because you think you're going to break it. But I've always, whenever I pried with a knife, I've always been able to pop something open. But I have broken a couple of knives doing it, right? And most of them had thin tips and not so wide midsections, okay? Anyway, I'm not going to compare it to anything. You can't compare it to anything. This is different. It's a different knife. Okay, it looks different. It functions different. And if you want something like this, by all means, I have a few left. If you want one, I guarantee you, by the end of the day of this video being posted, I'd be willing to bet they're all going to be gone. You have to wait till the next run, which will go faster. LT Wright said a month, maybe 2. That's how quick he's going to be able to get them out next time, because all the work's already done. The CAD designs, the Waterjet applications already, it's already programmed in. All you got to do is hit a button. Okay, I'm very impressed with LT Wright. That's why I went with him. Okay, I had my choice of a couple of other knife companies, but at the end of the day, I was more comfortable with LT Wright. Right, my dealings with him have been nothing but respect and honorable. Right? I can't say that with other companies. I just can't say it. Right? I've had makers from other companies lie to me, just flat out lie to me. They say they're going to do something, they don't do it. Right? I take that personally. I take it personally. When somebody says they're going to do something and they don't do it, I take it personally. Okay? And that to me is a bad reflection of honor and ethics, integrity, whatever you want. And I don't hold anybody accountable for what they did once, way back when, or even yesterday. I want to see who you are today, right? And today, if you lie to me, you tell me you're going to do something and you don't do it, then yeah, I'm going to have a non-favorable outlook on you. A non-favorable, consideration, right? Because I try not to do that shit. If I tell you I'm going to do something, come hell or high water, I'm going to do it. And if I can't, I'm going to tell you why, right? And it'll be the truth. Because I don't hold any punches. I don't, I give it straight. You all know that, right? I can be politically correct, But when I really need to be straight, like right now, I don't like to be lied to. I don't like people to tell me they're going to do something and they don't do it, right? It's just, that irritates me. Because I'm used to dealing with honorable men. You know, men who say what they're going to do and do what they say they're going to do. That kind of thing. There it is. Delta Whiskey Infinity. Now, all that stuff I just rattled off for the last half hour, you're going to find that when you put this in your hand, you're going to be able to do even more with it. You're going to find stuff out about this knife that I don't even know about. Wait till Mike McGowan gets his. A week later, I'm going to have 17 paragraphs this long about everything this knife can do. And if it's coming from Mike, it can do it. Right? He's one of the toughest guys I know. Honorable, ethical. He's never lied to me. He always gives me the truth, right? Even if I don't want to hear it. Look, Doug, got to tell you this, blah, blah, blah. Right? I really, that's honorable. So, I like Mike. He's a good guy. Sheath systems, right? We make sheaths. This is a sheath, right? That's a sheath. That's a sheath, right? Could you call it a system because it's got an IWB clip on the back? The Ulti clip, you could call it a system, but not enough to be a system for me. This is a system. This is a sheath system, right? And this is a knife and sheath system. And that is what we're known for here at Yellowhawk. Knife and sheath systems. Not just merely a sheath, okay? Anybody can build a sheath. I don't know if they'll get the retention right, but anybody can build a sheath. It takes a lot of practice to get the retention right consistently. A lot of practice, okay? I don't know. Took me a while to figure it out. And I got some proprietary techniques that make my retention off the charts, right? You grab a hold of that handle. If there's any movement at all, it might be so insignificant you wouldn't even want to mention it, right? But generally, tight, right? No rattle, right? No tip rock, no back and forth, right? But the nature of KYDEX is things change. KYDEX changes over time. The retention does get a little bit looser over time, and it may develop a little bit of travel, but that's the KYDEX, right? That's the nature of KYDEX. But you're already, when you're starting out with super good retention, it's not going to get much worse, right? It'll get a little bit of play over a couple of years or whatever, but it's still going to be pretty damn tight. I mean, I pick up some sheaths that come through here, right? Some, I got some in the back in boxes, right? Just don't have the knives for them because they've already been sent out. But, you know, the knife and sheath comes in, the sheath made by somebody else, and that tip is going back and forth, and the knife's going right in the KYDEX. I just don't. I don't see how a maker can make a KYDEX sheath like that. But honestly, some makers don't know that you can get retention like that, right? You can get retention that does not have any play, right? Doesn't have any play in it. And it's got great retention. Awesome click, right? Awesome click. Some makers don't know that that's the gold standard and what a KYDEX sheath system should be. Some guys don't know. They think play is okay, tip rock is okay. Yeah, it's just a sheath, right? I don't take that outlook. I just don't. All right? Okay, the click. Check it out. It's on Facebook, CLYHCK, the click. 3 administrators. I got Bob Yeschke, the Grizz, Mike McGowan, right? Who's got like 30 different Yellowhawk sheath systems and like all of my knives. And the guy, I love him to death. He's great. He's fun to be around too. You should go camping with him. He's funny as hell. Guy never sits down, right? He's always doing something. And Chris Pagan, right? Great guys. I just went backpacking with Chris Pagan. super guy, real humble, right? It's hard to have a conversation with him because it's hard to get a couple of words out of him. He's so quiet. Okay, I think that's it. We're on Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to us on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you like what you see, you think I'm funny, you think I'm a dickhead, you think I'm cruel to people, you think I'm a nice guy, subscribe. You'll be able to confirm those hypotheses, I guess, right? Okay, so that's it. I think that's it. Right. Here's the newest one, the first sheath system. It's going to look just like this one, only a slightly different color. That's all. It's going to have black brick accessories, and this one has a lot, right? It has a lot, quite a bit. The only other thing I could put on here is a tactical flashlight right here. You know, the Phoenix E05. E12 might fit on here. An E12, right? The bigger one that works better. But they're both nice knives, okay? That's why I use them. Lights. Okay, you would think I'm on cocaine or something, as quick as I talk. Alright, so there it is. Pretty cool. This is my personal system. Live fire. I keep raping my own sheaths for live fires because I keep running out of them. Right? Yesterday, exactly. Oh, how many more live fires? Take it from my sheath. Right? I don't think I've used it. Anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. This is Doug Wilson for Yellow Hawk Customs Outdoors. See ya!